Survivors, stop trying to keep up with the hustle heroes. You're never going to out hustle them. And you don't need to, because here's what they won't tell you. Trauma survivors actually make better entrepreneurs. Your hypervigilance is actually intuition. Your perfectionism means you have high standards, and your overthinking is really just strategic problem solving on steroids. The traits that you think are holding you back from starting your own business are actually going to be your biggest competitive advantage. Hi, I'm RC Gray, your survivor sister and business bestie, and I have survived a lifetime of trauma, and I became an entrepreneur out of necessity. But in the process, I discovered something that changed everything about how I build my business and my life. I learned that the trauma traits that I thought made me too much and not enough, the people pleasing, the need for control, the hyper independence, aren't actually weaknesses. They are actually CEO superpowers. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So the problem is most methods for building businesses rely heavily on mindset, discipline, taking massive action, systems that reward hustle and sacrifice, where burnout is worn like a badge of honor. Now, look, it is not a lack of ambition or discipline that is holding survivors back. It's that these traditional methods ignore how a survivor's brain and body actually work. The truth is, trauma changes your brain. And unfortunately, because of this, we no longer fit into the neat little box that the normies get to live their lives in. Traditional education models don't work for us. The conforming and stifling 9-to-5s that are supposed to provide secure income feel unsafe and suffocating. Now, look, as a survivor, you have already proven that you can do hard things, and running your business doesn't have to be one of them. In fact, the exact traits that helped you survive can actually become your biggest assets in your business. Now, here's how I figured this out and why it took me so damn long. So, as I mentioned earlier, childhood trauma affected my ability to learn and the way my brain functions, which is why I became an entrepreneur in the first place. Traditional jobs were a huge struggle for me, despite the fact that I have multiple degrees and I look super accomplished on paper, but I was living most of my life in survival mode, working odd jobs, picking up side hustles, and just trying to make ends meet was the norm for me because maintaining a regular job was so dysregulating to my nervous system. The bigger problem here is that survival mode was so familiar to me that it actually paved the way for a traumatic sequel. So in my late 30s, I was re-victimized again, and I survived kidnapping, rape, and attempted murder. And for years after, I tried to outrun what happened to me. I threw myself into work, into proving I was strong enough and smart enough and disciplined enough. I tried every mindset trick, every productivity hack. I tried to push through the pain. And I felt like I was doing the work and modeling the habits of the people that I thought were successful. But I was getting nowhere. I was burning out. My body was shutting down, and I was pushing through chronic anxiety, panic attacks, emotional flashbacks, and nothing was working. So I call this the hustle hangover. It was like I knew there were things that I was good at, but I just couldn't seem to access them in my own brain. Now, I realized that most of my strengths and all of the energy that fueled them were tied up in survival instead of being put to work towards my success. And when I realized that, that's when everything changed. I stopped trying to fix myself and I started using my survival mechanisms to build something bigger. I began to realize that the same traits that I thought made me too much or not enough were the same traits that world-class leaders rely on. So let me break down how these traits transform when you stop fighting them and you start leveraging them. Like hypervigilance can actually become deep intuition. When you are constantly scanning for danger, that's the part of your brain that's really good at pattern recognition. You can read a room, sense when something's off in your business, and pivot before problems become a crisis. While others might be blindsided, chances are you saw it coming 3 months ago. people pleasing. This often indicates that you have very high empathy, which is massively lacking in so many businesses. And it's the number one metric that measures customer satisfaction. You have the ability to read what people need and you know how to adapt to keep them happy. This is actually emotional intelligence, and it's the secret to getting and keeping customers. This means you can anticipate objections, you can address concerns before they're voiced, and you can create experiences that keep clients coming back. If you're a perfectionist, you probably have that drive to get things exactly right. This is actually a superpower when it comes to setting standards for your brand. Now, you're building a reputation for quality over quantity. Your attention to detail becomes your signature. And this is the key to staying on point when you are building a brand. Okay, let's talk about hyperindependence. This is another trauma trait that shows up because we often feel like we can't trust anyone else. This means that you don't need to wait for permission to take action to solve problems, and others turn to you in a crisis because of your confidence. Now, this positions you as someone who gets results. Are you a control freak? Me too. Now, this typically stems from needing order in chaos. The drive to manage every detail is a proactive approach. You can easily set standards, create systems, anticipate problems so that things run smoothly. But have you ever been caught in an overthinking loop? Well, this is actually the strategic planning superpower. That constant what if thinking is contingency planning and risk management. Now, if this is you, you have already thought through every possible outcome and have backup plans for your backup plans. Now, while others are winging it, you are 10 steps ahead, and this allows you to pivot on a dime. Okay, these aren't just nice reframes to make you feel better about your trauma traits. These are legitimate competitive advantages that give you an edge in business. And these are just a few of the most common trauma traits that can actually help you build a safe, sustainable business. Now, I have identified 4 core archetypes that survivors fall into. Each one has different strengths, different triggers, and different paths to success. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. Switching your trauma traits into your CEO superpowers isn't like flipping a light switch, but there is a system you can use to help you get there. And I promise it does not require pulling all-nighters or 5 a.m. mornings or cold plunges or selling your soul and burning out. So if you want to figure out which archetype you are and get a personalized roadmap for how to leverage your specific traits, I have created a free quiz. It takes about 5 minutes. And at the end, you will get a detailed breakdown of your archetype, your biggest strengths, and your potential pitfalls, plus the exact strategies that will work for your nervous system. I will leave a link in the description, and I want you to note this quiz will literally put you 2 to 3 years ahead. Okay, I know what some of you might be thinking, but RC, should I heal my trauma first before I try to build a business? Look, I am not saying don't work on healing, but what I am saying is that you don't have to wait until you're fixed to start building something that you care about. In fact, building a business that works with your nervous system instead of against it can actually be one of the most healing things you can do. Because when you stop trying to force yourself into systems that weren't built for you, and when you stop trying to be like the hustle heroes, and when you start leveraging your survivor traits instead of fighting them, that's when everything shifts. You stop feeling like you're not enough or like you don't belong here, and you start feeling powerful and confident, and that like you are finally in control of your life and your future. And that's what I want for you. So if you are ready to stop trying to keep up with everyone else and start building a business that actually works for how your brain operates, go take the quiz, figure out your archetype, and let's turn your trauma into your CEO superpowers. The link is in the description. Oh, and if you want to hear my story, check out this video over here.